we're going to do today then is we're going to be looking at the development of a will, and in particular, hello, it says up on the screen, after this session what you should be able to do is to distinguish between the principles guiding the drafting of a will and the execution of it. So you know what the execution of it means, I hope, which means that we are concentrating on ensuring that it complies with Section 9 of the Wills Act, in particular in relation to the signing by the testator, the testatrix, and the witnesses. Yeah, that's very important. What we're also going to do is to look at some principles in relation to intestacy, and you're going to be hopefully via the use of your iPad, logging onto the government's website in relation to intestacy, so you'll be able to work out the circumstances in which intestacy applies and the specifics of the scale of individuals who are entitled under the terms of an intestacy, and I'll come back to that in a short while. Defining the essential terms of a will. I have already supplied you with a draft will. Yes? You will have this in your email. If you haven't yet accessed it, please access it now. That would be very handy, because you are going to be adding to that will. Again, by the end of this session, you should be able to offer some practical advice. I'm not by any means suggesting that you set yourself up in practice immediately as a probate lawyer. That would be bad. Yes, that would be a bad thing to do. However, what you can do is, by the end of this session, is you should be able to advise someone about the simple terms of a will. You should be able to advise in relation to the specifics of the will of Sonia Louise Kerr. Okay, this is the person whose will we are going to, or you are going to be drafting with some assistance. And finally, you'll see in the bottom here, I've said that you should be able to distinguish between a full and a half secret trust. In order to help you in relation to this final aspect of what we aim to achieve this morning, you will need to log on to the Blackboard site for Property, Equity and Trust, and to have a look at the Adobe presentation on the subject of secret trusts. If you've already listened to that Adobe presentation, then that's brilliant, and you can just steam ahead, because you will know how to apply the half secret trust principles. But if you haven't, it takes no more than 4 or 5 minutes to listen to that Adobe presentation, so you can take the opportunity to do that shortly. Okay. In terms of things that you need to do to begin with, if you have a look at the draft will, Sonia's draft will, you'll see that there is a great deal of what we might refer to as either archaic legal language or legalese. Yes? So old words that always crop up in wills, and your job is to find out their meaning. And the reason you need to find out their meaning is in order for you to understand the implications that arise from the words used. Yeah? So, where she refers to the phrases hereby revoke all former testamentary dispositions, you need to find out what that means, what she's intending to do. You will see in the instructions that your client has given you that she makes it clear in her instructions that she wants you to be able to draft her will using plain English. Okay? So for you, there is a necessity to ensure that however you draft her will, whatever you add to what's already here, or whatever you might amend on the basis of what's already in the draft, you need to make sure that you're meeting her wishes, don't you? You're her lawyer, yes? You can advise her if you think that there is no other phrase or word which would adequately express her intention around the will. Yes, you can advise her about that, that's no problem. But you have to bear in mind that her stated intention is that you should draft something that's simple to understand and is clear. Okay? All right, so defining these words is over to you, and also defining those is also going to be over to you. So all of these words appear in the first page, I think. I'll just double check. The first and the third page of Sonia's draft will. Okay. Once you've done that, once you've had a look at her instructions, answered the questions in relation to the issues that she raises, ultimately you're going to then move on to look at what happens when someone doesn't have a will. Okay? So we're focusing to begin with on circumstances where a person wants you to draft their will and what needs to go into it. Bearing in mind what I said to you last week in relation to issues relating to certainty, yes, and also bearing in mind the specifics of her wishes. When an individual dies without a will, their property needs to be dealt with, I can't think of a better word, Zerly, by the state. Yes? So the state steps in and provides a remedy in terms of the distribution of their property. Now, when we come to it, you will log on to this website. I will send you a link to it, so you'll have it on your iPad shortly. You can log on to this website, and the beauty of this website is it's a government website, and it gives you the opportunity to run through a series of questions which enable you to determine who is entitled to your client's property if they died without a will. And when you get to that particular site, what I'd like you to do is to answer no to all of the questions. Because as you then proceed answering no to all of the questions, eventually you will see who is ultimately entitled. Yeah? So it tells you who would have been entitled, and ultimately it tells you who will benefit if you keep on answering no. It's quite good fun. I did it. I quite enjoyed it. Anyway. Okay, so to begin with what I'd like you to do is you are more than welcome to work with up to 4 people. If you're sitting next to people who are friendly with you and there's 4 of you, that's absolutely fine. Other than that, you can work in 2s, or if you'd like to just do it by yourself, then you can work alone. It's entirely up to you. But you need to start working on this. You're going to have 15 minutes to run through and amend the will, and you're going to have to make sure that with actually 20 minutes, because you're going to need to answer the questions and make sure you're incorporating her instructions within your redrafted will. At the end of that 20 minutes, I'm going to ask you to email your will to me. And you will see from the instructions that, it won't be this morning, but over the coming days, myself and Rob will look at your wills as drafted, and then we'll decide on the best 3. And the best 3 get a seasonal gift, which is either going to be chocolate or something else.
Oh, I thought it was
or a trip to China. Yeah, right. Okay. All right, so get working, 20 minutes, and then we'll come back to it and have a look through.
See how long it's taking me?